Good.
All right, we're live.
Maybe we should start off with a little introduction to who we are as well, just so
Of
we can
course.
fill people in a little bit now that the technical things are up and running. But yeah, thank you, Harry, so much for joining like our Adversus webinar. My name is Jimmy, as you can see in this slide here. I'm the head of sales at Adversus. I have been in Adversus for approximately 7 years, actually 7 years now. When we're hitting the 1st of September. Started in Adversus as a customer success manager. So I've actually been a bit all around in Adversus, both onboarding clients, selling to clients. And today I'm primarily involved in the enterprise selling, but of course also partially responsible for our sales team together with our CSO and our team leaders for the BDRs, SDRs, etc. And then, yeah, a bit about me, personal fact. I'm a big United fan, Manchester United fan, so I need some compassion from the followers if there's any United fans here today. So, yeah, a little bit over to you, Harry.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, another United fan here, so there's probably a few disgruntled Liverpool fans on here, although we haven't exactly done well so far. So, but yeah, so a bit about me. So I've been in sales for over 12 years. From the UK originally, I started my sales career in an outbound insurance call center, so something Adversus and both SalesScreen know well. So then I moved to Norway. My partner's Norwegian. I moved here 7.5 years ago. Little stint as a landscape gardener when I first got here, but quickly got back into sales. So I've been at SalesScreen now 6.5 years. Started as an SDR entry level, worked my way up now to head of sales for EMEA. So yeah, really excited today to dig into this with you, Jimmy. Share, stuff we're talking about with clients every day and working on ourselves around, driving the right behaviors and KPIs. So, yeah.
But yeah, let's get cracking. Maybe let's just cover some of the agenda that we'll be going through today, because today is basically like a chat about like KPIs and which KPIs matters and which behavior they should drive as well. So like in the first section, we'll be talking a little bit about the problem. We'll get into that, choosing the right KPIs, turning KPIs into motivations, turning insights into actions as well. And then in the end of the session here, we'll have a little Q&A. So it also means like throughout this session, if you have any like questions or something like that, then just please use the chat in here, and then we'll take all the questions at the end of the session. Of course, if we do not have enough time to go through all of the questions, then I promise you'll get a response afterwards, because we can, you signed up with your email, so then you'll get like a response to your questions on email. Great. Do you have anything here, Harry, we should cover before we move on and start?
Let's jump into it. Yeah. Thanks for joining, everyone.
I actually want to start with our own team at Adversus, because we don't just build like a software for our bump sales team. We happen to run one ourselves as well. We actually have around like 20 BDRs working at Adversus every single day. And as a head of sales, I have pretty much access to all the numbers that I could ask for, like calls, conversion rates, lead usage, etc. And all of those numbers is actually available within the platform of Adversus that we of course use. And on top of that, like I even have the possibilities to build my own KPIs within the platform as well if I need something specialized. So you would think like having all of like these data would make sales management easy. It doesn't. One of the things I could learn from managing our own team is that more data doesn't necessarily make better decisions. Listen, I could build like a dashboard, right, with 20 KPIs. But when my BDRs are meeting in every single morning, they're not really thinking about 20 KPIs. And frankly, neither should I. So I would say like the challenge isn't access to data. The challenge is kind of knowing which numbers actually matter and what we should do when they change. So Harry, you work with our sales teams from the SalesScreen side. Do you also happen to experience that people are drowning in numbers today?
Yeah, no, it's such a good point. We regularly speak to clients about keeping it simple, right? What are those, for example, behaviors that the team can actually control and drive? And as you say, not overloading with too much. So yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And I also maybe think that sometimes there's like a disconnect between how we as managers experience performance and how the BDRs or SDRs or reps are experiencing it. Like you and I, for instance, could be looking at contact rates, conversion, campaign performance, lead efficiency, but our BDRs, SDRs, sales rep, they're not coming in every single day and think, okay, today I'm going to improve the campaign conversion rate. No, they're thinking more like, okay, who am I calling today? Which lead am I working? What do I need to do next, right? So the KPI only really becomes useful when I can connect it into actual sales workflow, basically. Because I think like when we look throughout our industry, calls are probably is the easiest example we can find. Like imagine a BDR, SDR makes like 150 calls, but another one makes 100, right? If our primary KPI is calls, then the first one looks better, right? With the 150 calls compared to one that only did 100. But what if both of these BDRs, SDRs generated 5 bookings? All of a sudden, they're equal. But what if one of them have used 100 leads to generate those 5 bookings and the other one used only 50? All of a sudden, we have the same output, but twice the lead usage. And then I feel, at least, Harry, from my side of things, that's a different management conversation than like which numbers are you looking at as a head of sales in terms of your own team?
Yeah, no, I mean, as you say, as a head of sales, I'm looking at conversion rates and thinking where can we get that extra, reduce that conversion, increase the conversion by the small percentages, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think a lot of what you're saying makes so much sense. And also, as you said, like you don't really want your SDRs coming in and thinking, okay, my pipeline goal is this big number for the month. We want them thinking in like, okay, what are my goals today? What are my goals this week? Because ultimately, how can you stay motivated if you're just constantly looking at that big number when it seems so big? And just one thing I'd add as well is like something I've thinking a lot about recently is really understanding the numbers. As you put here,
Mm-hmm.
like you can't. We've probably all had that conversation as managers of like, you need to make more calls
Yeah,
or you need to work on your objection handling to convert, more
100%.
calls. But it's like, if they don't understand the impact of that on their numbers, on their target, and making more money, being able to buy that flat they want, take their girlfriend on holiday, then they don't feel engaged with it. It's just us telling them what to do.
Yeah, completely agree. So I guess it's fair to say that the answer is not necessarily more KPIs.
Mm,
I think like it's the understanding how the numbers kind of connect and more importantly, maybe what us as managers have to do. So basically the numbers should actually telling us what to do and how to act. Because if one of our BDRs is underperforming, like me as a manager, I don't immediately want to connect or conclude that I have a people problem.
mm,
I mean, yes, sure, it could be effort, but it could also be the data. It could even be the targeting, right? It could also be the conversation, but those requires completely different actions from us as managers as well. So I actually think like the principle I use is actually very simple. Like before you can coach the rep, you also need to diagnose the funnel as well. So in terms of what we need to talk about, like in the next sections, is a little bit like how to choose the right KPIs. Um, Today, Harry, I have like 4 KPIs that I've selected. I mean, obviously, I have like a long list of KPIs, right? But I had to
mm.
pick some. So I have some I have selected, and then maybe if you also will talk a little bit about like the KPIs when you're sharing some of the KPIs from SalesScreen, which numbers
Yeah,
that you're using on a day to day.
definitely.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool. Then let's go to the next one here. So the first thing that I actually would like to talk about, and this is kind of a custom KPI I've built within Adversus, is called campaign time. This is it's kind of like the effort KPI. So by that, I mean the amount of time a BDR generally active working in the outbound campaigns. And I like campaign time because it answers basically a very simple question. If you're asking me, are we putting in the work? Are we putting in the effort, right? And probably a lot of my BDRs and sales rep, account executive, know I'm a huge football fan, so I tend to compare it like with sports and football. But then again, if I'm looking at a footballer, I mean, I might want to know like how far they can run, even how fast they can run, like how strong are they, because those numbers tells me something important about their physical capacity and effort, right? Like it tells me something about their endurance and what they can do, but those numbers don't necessarily tells me if they're a good baller or not. And I think campaign time is a little bit like similar, if you're asking me, because let's assume that one of my BDRs, SDRs, a sales rep has 3 hours and another has 6. That is relevant, right? Because there's clearly a difference in the outbound activities. But an important distinction here is that I still don't know whether those 6 hours were productive or not. So campaign time for me, Harry, tells me about the effort, but it doesn't necessarily tell me about the effectiveness. Do you track any of similar kind of KPI in your end when you're doing outbound? I know you also have a bit different setup.
No, I mean, look, for us, we don't have the luxury of having an SDR, BDR team yet, but we have account executives doing outbound prospecting along with everything else we do as salespeople. So for me, a big project has been to make sure we are spending time on things that make people know we're trying to speak to them, which obviously is calling them, LinkedIn messages, whatever that might be. So yeah, 100%. And one thing I wanted to mention here was that I actually had external coaching before from a coach called Stephen Myers. Follow him if you can on LinkedIn. He's really great. And we were talking about setting these goals for the team. And he spoke a lot about sales behaviors. And these are things that the person can actually control. So like if you said someone, can you guarantee you're going to get $50,000 of pipeline this month? They can't say yes. But if you said to them, in your case, can you guarantee you're going to spend 2 hours a day making phone calls? Yeah. So that's a good sales behavior you can use as a target. I'm not saying we're not going to target them on pipeline as well, but as long as you have those behaviors in there they can control and own, I think that's step one, right, of kind of building your metrics of what can they actually do every day that's going to help them succeed to where they want to get to.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, what about like the objection that you could get on such a KPI like campaign time, effective work hours? Like sometimes like you can get that objection from, it could be your employers, it could be from like industry experts or something like that. Like honestly, what does the campaign time matter? Like it doesn't guarantee that will be a success. It doesn't guarantee that we'll be making more sales or bookings, right? It's like everyone can sit on a campaign or sit in outbound mode for 6 hours, right? So what can I really use it for? Like, do you like what is your perspective on that? Like,
well, that's like what we touched on where we start looking at the conversion rates, right? It's like, okay, if you are spending 2 hours a day, but you're not speaking to anyone. Okay, well, let's look at your opener when people answer the phone. As you said, are you calling the right people? I think unless you have that kind of clear map of what your funnel is, then there's no way as a manager or leader you can break down kind of where.
So what if your top performer, let's say like now we're using examples like one had like 3 hours, another had 6. What if your top performer only had like 3 hours? But he's the one that maybe or her that book the most meetings and make the most sales. And you're kind of like forcing that people should have like at least 6 hours of campaign time. Like, how would you tackle that?
Yeah, no, I think it's comes back to individual coaching, right? Some people, again, that's that education piece I said at the start is I would never tell that top performer to spend more time if they're booking enough meetings for their pipeline. We would then look maybe further down their conversion rate. Can we improve your deal size? Can we improve your expansions, etc.? So, yeah, what's your thoughts on it? I think for me, it's mainly just making sure it's visible, understandable, and again, like sort of educating them that okay, we need to look at what is the outcome of your calls and your in campaigns. If you're not getting enough of whatever output or outcome you want, you need to break it down, like why, and where is it best to spend your time? But yeah, interested to hear your thoughts on it, Jimmy, as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think like again, I'm not saying like campaign time is a bad KPI because I think it's a very useful KPI. And also, as your former coach Steven said, like this is something that a sales rep can influence themselves, and it tells something about effort, right? Like I cannot like a BDR or an SDR sales rep cannot go in and say I want to have a conversion rate on 30% or I want to have an answer rate on 80%, right? It's basically out of their control zone. But the campaign thing and the hours that they're getting exposed for the outbound activities is something they can go in and influence themselves. So I think it's extremely useful. I usually compare it like with a house, like you have to start with the foundation and you're not starting with the roof, right? So I actually see campaign hours and these things is a bit like the foundation. And again, if we're bringing back like the uh, football comparison, like you can forgive a footballer that basically played a bad match if he put in the effort, right? He was doing the duels, he won the duels, he was running, he was blocking, he did absolutely whatever he could. And after the game, he was fully drained. He didn't play a perfect game, but he gave it all right. You will never like say too much about that. You'll forget that part. And it's the same with the campaign hours. Like if you know, hey, I put in like this amount of time, maybe today I didn't get the result, but if you have that consistency over time, there's a big probability that you will be a success and you'll be exposed enough to get yourself into situations where you can actually get the experience you need as well. So yeah.
100%.
Cool. But I think let's go to the next one here. I kind of like did a mixture here. I want to take a look about like contact rate because I think it's a very popular KPI. I mean, sales demos and all of these things, they're always asking like, Jimmy, how great of a contact rate can you guarantee me? And yeah, honestly, I can't really guarantee you anything because yes, we are dialing software, we are outbound software, but again, our system cannot tell if anyone is picking up the phone, right? We're just placing a call and the probability for someone to pick up the phone will probably be the same from a cell phone, from a predictive dialer, from a progressive dialer. It's just a phone call we're placing. But of course, we have a lot of tools, a lot of settings that can help you increasing the contact rate. And that's different. But let's talk about like contact rate, for instance. Like maybe we can circle a little bit back. Like we have a BDR, he has plenty of campaign time. So we know now that he's kind of like putting in the work. But on a team with 20 people, you could actually have some of the BDRs, the SDRs that have a significantly lower answer rate, contact rate than everybody else. So now you and I as managers actually have to be a bit careful here because the easy thing for us to conclude is that, yeah, Harry, you are underperforming. But is it really the BDR in this case? Because maybe they're working on different lead sources, maybe a different segment, maybe they're calling at the wrong time, maybe the data quality is a bit different as well. Maybe there's something happening in that specific campaign out in the market that they're not able to control. So let's say in this case here, it is actually a data problem because he's putting in the work or she's putting in the work, then like more calls and more calls in general will not really solve the problem here. It will just make us go through bad data quicker. And then, of course, there's also another layer as we have next to here, like we can see, like we have the contact rate, then we have like unqualified rate, because it could also be a case where the contact rate is actually amazing on you, Harry. But when we then when we then take a look at the people you're reaching, a large percentage of them is unqualified. Then we are maybe as a company very good at getting people on the phone, but we're just not getting the right people on the phone. Again, that could probably mean a targeting or data related problem. And in this case, not a Harry problem / people problem. So contact rate helps me move from is Harry, the BDR, working to is this environment that we're giving you actually working for you? So that is the way I personally are using contact rate, for instance. Then another one, of course, the next one is a bit obvious, but also something we shouldn't forget is like the positive outcome, of course, like what happened in the conversation. So now we've been through like, are we putting in the work? What is the unqualified rate? What is the contact rate? So we know maybe campaign hours could be looking super, super healthy. The contact rate could look healthy as well. We know that, Harry, you're reaching the right people as well. Now, me as a manager here, I maybe want to know, okay, what actually happened in those conversations that you had on the phone. So maybe let's come up with a good example again. Let's say that we have a SDR, like he's constantly generating fewer positive outcomes than the rest of the team, right? Now, all of a sudden, I'm really curious. Okay, how's this person, as you said, Harry, opening? How are they qualifying? How are they handling the objections? Maybe also like how are they positioning the value as well? So now we're getting closer to something that the BDR, the SDR, the sales rep can influence themselves. And as well, something that myself or potentially a team leader or coach can influence as well. So think about it like this. That's what I'm doing, like campaign time. Did the work happen? Contact rate. Did the work create conversations? Positive outcome. Did the conversation create something valuable? What about like when I say positive outcomes, contact rate? I know that before you were starting looking into Adversus as well. You used like Apollo dialer there. Like you mentioned some pains around like contact rate, etc.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all I'm thinking as you're talking is conversion rates, conversion rates. So, which is something that I'm a bit obsessed with at the moment. But yeah, so I mean, like you say, I mean, look, when you can see, like you said, if you can see there's one person who has a lot less than other people in those conversions, you know, you need to coach them probably. But I think this is something we're excited about Adversus, is being able to have that visibility on those conversions. We know that it's purely a very good system for calling from, whereas we tried to kind of use Apollo for everything. And we realized it was the master of none, you could say. So now we want a dialer that just does the job well, which is why we're going to use Adversus. And again, for me, it's about the conversion rate. So and time and efficiency. Like my guys have got to hit their target. They've got to handle inbounds, expansion, loads of stuff, right? So when they've got an hour spare, I just want them dialing when they can. So I've worked on, you know, getting them accounts and leads using AI agents that are good. So that's looking at that conversion rate, but a good data. Again, we have like waterfall data enrichment. So it's like that's another conversion rate. Is it the right phone number? And then of course it's efficiency, visibility. That's going to come from using Adversus as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but I think actually let's say efficiency, because that actually takes me over to the final number I would like to talk about out of the four selected KPIs, and that is actually leads per booking. And this is
I
probably
didn't plan that
my,
either. I did look at the presentation, but I didn't know that the next thing said efficiency. So
all right, right. No,
yeah.
that's actually pretty impressive of us, since we didn't actually coordinate that. That's actually true.
No.
But yeah, how efficient are we? So you made a perfect bridge for me there. Thank you so much for that. But I think actually like this is one of my favorites, because like leads per booking, leads per sales, depending on your business case, of course. Like if we circle back to the example where we have two BDRs that book like that maybe generated five sales, five bookings, etc. Like if we're just looking at that positive outcome number, they are fully equal. But again, it could be that one of the salesmen, one of the BDRs, one of the SDRs only spent like 50 leads to book those five meetings, but the other one only used 100, or the other one used 100, right? Then again, it's same result, but twice the lead consumption. And I guess for marketing teams and for you and I, Harry, like what matters here is also the leads itself, because lead cost money nowadays. They're quite expensive, especially good data is like super expensive. And then another thing, like especially also in our industry, like our addressable market isn't unlimited either. So I don't only want to ask how many booking sales did we create. I also want to understand a little bit like what did it take us to create them? Because then personally I have a better understanding of the overall efficiency. But when you're speaking about like efficiency, Harry, like now I know you don't have like the luxury of a full SDR team right now, but like how do you actually juggle like this task about like in your sales team, like staying efficient, closing deals, helping with the onboarding follow-ups, etc. All of that. Like, how do you juggle all of those tasks? Because then you need to be in the zone for cold calling. You need to follow up on your pipe. You need to have the coordination meetings, all of that. Like, how do you set that framework up for your sales rep?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me, it's all about being organized. I think the best salespeople are very organized people. Something I've had to work on over the years, to be honest. And also take breaks. I think, when you're in like a demo with a customer in a meeting, for me, that should be the time you're on top form throughout the day. So whatever you have to do during the day to make sure when you're in that meeting, you're there, then do it. Whether it's going to the sauna, which is my favorite thing in the morning, or take 5 minutes, have a cigarette if that's your thing. Maybe me when I've worked in that call center in my first job, but and then also as I say, time blocking, like particularly for someone as an AE, like a sales rep who does everything, not just outbound work, is like just have that religious daily 45 minutes where you're calling, basically. Those would be my top tips.
Yeah, makes sense. I fully follow that. And then I think it's so important, like the KPI we need as head of sales aren't necessarily the same KPIs our BDRs need to see every morning. Because again, as you said, we maybe need leads per booking, leads per sales to diagnose the business. But it doesn't actually mean that I should put leads per booking on a big screen and start a competition around it as well. So I think we need to separate as well, like what do we need to understand as managers from what behavior do you actually want the rep to focus on as well. So I think it's of course a big talk, and you could keep on talking about these things. And when we're talking KPIs in general, there's no right or wrong because it's so case dependent as well. But of course, I think it's worth to reflect on, like, the numbers you're looking at. Does that reflect the behavior that you actually would like to generate in your sales team as well? And I think there's normally a huge disconnection there. Cool. But I think we also promised to show a little bit product. And of course, we'll be showing a little bit in Adversus. We'll be showing a little bit in SalesScreen as well. Right now, I would like to show a little bit about like the reporting part of Adversus. Again, it'll only be like a sneak peek. It'll be pretty quick. So if any one of you guys are participating here would like a deep dive, we can always arrange like a deep dive session of things. So yeah, I guess most of you guys, this screen here because you can see we have quite a lot of existing customers in here. But I can also see we actually have people participating from SalesScreen side. So that's amazing. Big welcome to you guys. But like what we're looking at here is Adversus. And it is Adversus from a super administrator's perspective. So this is also why I have quite a lot of stuff in the main menu. But we need to talk about reportings this time here. So I want to go into our insights category, drill down this one here, and then I have a lot of amazing options here. The one we're going to take a look at right now is like reporting. Reporting is a little bit like an Excel spreadsheet, but I usually always state to my clients that it's kind of like a sexy Excel sheet because I think it's a bit more dependent on the case. But if you are a team lead, you want to have the numbers, you want to diagnose something, then I really love to work with it in Adversus. So like in all honesty, when you want to build a report in here, you start off by selecting some KPIs. And again, that could be campaign time. We could put that in. It could also be the answer rate that we just have space on. It could also be unqualified rate. It could also be bookings. And you can see where I'm going at. You can just like select whatever you want in here. So you simply select some KPIs you would like to display. The beautiful part about like the reporting in here is that you have so many possibilities as well. So now I just selected a few KPIs. You can see I have, for instance, like this one called active campaign time. And you can see I have something here called create own KPIs. This is a KPI I have defined myself within Adversus. So you can actually name it whatever you want, but essentially this is effective work hours, basically. The beautiful part here is also like you can kind of define what you consider as effective work hours towards your agents. I've selected some statuses in here, which, we can take in a deep dive session, of course, what they means. But let's assume that Harry you have a team briefing once a day or something like that, and that should be part of the effective work hours because it's part of the day-to-day operation. I mean, then you can just go and select pause reason, select team briefing or coaching or something like that. You could also do like team briefing and coaching because it's basically us that's stealing their time. So it should be a part of the effective work hours. And then I can click save. And that's like an element of Adversus. Like you can always define KPIs as you would like them to be. Then of course, when we're looking at these numbers here, you can see I have like something called campaign filter over here. So, I mean, I need to put in some other filters as well to make it maybe more appealing for me or give me what I want. Then I can click on filters and then I have the possibilities to group. So it could be that you want to group by, let's say month in this case here. The beautiful part is here now kind of all the other numbers we just saw, it kind of like took them, drilled them together. But I still have the possibility to make a drill down layer here. So that could be users. Then I have the possibilities to click here, and now I can actually see the users. And then I can go back. Of course, within the time interval, you can always look over a longer period of time as well, and then you'll get the month here. And something that I really adore with it is that I also have the possibility to press on these numbers. So let's pretend that I find a number that makes me curious, something I need to deep dive in, something I want to research in. Like honestly, I can just press the number and then it will take me to the customer cards, the company cards, the lead cards behind the number as well, which is kind of amazing for like finding examples. And guys, when you're working with reports in Adversus, you can always create an unlimited amount of reports. You can save different reports with different use cases. You can share reports with your clients, your other stakeholders within the companies through a link even. So you can actually share with a hyperlink. You can also share it so it pops down in the main menu for your agents or team leaders or something like that. So this is a little bit of a sneak peek into like the reporting side of things. It's quite intuitive. You simply just select, pick and choose, and you can arrange the order in here. And I kind of like it. It helps me quite a lot, even when you're looking into like here I have a bigger report where I have a lot of different numbers. When you have a lot of data, it takes roughly 30 seconds to load if you have a lot of data there. And then I can easily go in and basically like filtrate on like bookings or something like that. Unfortunately, we don't have time to deep dive into this, but you can actually see a pretty interesting case here. Like campaign hours is basically 40% less than here, but the bookings are almost the same. Contact answer rate is almost the same, and so on. So you can find some pretty good trends in here. But yeah, I will stop the screen share now so we can move on with the next part of it. But if there's any questions for the report part, let us know. Also in terms of building KPIs.
So Harry, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that.
Transition over to you.
Yeah, I could see you getting excited when you were looking at all that data. So was I. So typical sales leaders nerding out on sales data. But we wanted to just quickly talk about motivation as well. So, how do you build the right KPIs to really motivate your team to do the right behaviors? The first point is pick sales behaviors that people can actually control. So they can get up in the morning and they know they can do this behavior that's going to help them get to their goal. The other thing I think is important is select some which you want to build as habits. So the KPIs that are repeatable. So maybe not that one-off, big deal, but the repeatable habits that you can, hit a certain goal every week. And then you're able to really provide recognition and positive feedback when they repeat those habits that will lead them to be a top performer and get to their goals. Something else is if you're thinking about, but how do we really engage the team on, the big number? I think things like a team goal and working together towards it can be really powerful. So whether that's, a team goal on number of demos booked or pipeline generated, make it really visible, give people updates regularly, and make sure you celebrate when you hit those milestones as a team. Because sometimes as an individual, when you're working towards that big goal, it seems like, too big, and that's where we break it down into those bite-sized wins. But as a team, it can be a nice way of getting motivated towards the big win. And it's obviously different when you're working in longer deal cycles, that you wouldn't have necessarily a monthly sales award if your sales cycles are like 3 to 6 months. But finding a way of if you are going to which I would suggest doing those awards and kind of top performer celebrations. Make sure it's relevant to your deal cycle. But also what you can do is then, instead of looking at the end number, look at what behaviors can those enterprise or mid-market reps do that are going to increase the chance of closing that deal, and then use that as a KPI. So you'll know better than me, but for us, it's things like face-to-face meetings, it's building return investment cases, multi-threading, all of these kind of more enterprise level behaviors. So yeah, those are my key takeaways. The most underutilized real estate in your office is normally your TV screen. And there's lots of good vendors out there of how you can get data on the TV. So I wanted to show you how we do it and share some ideas. So I'm just going to share my screen here.
Fair.
So this data we can pull in via Adversus and other systems you use in CRM systems. We want this to be engaging, personalized, and fun. We're speaking to a lot of companies now who are all about getting people back to the office. If you do have hybrid remote working, we want the salespeople in the office as much as possible. So we want to create a fun and vibrant atmosphere. So that's really where our TV screens come in. One thing you can see here is like being able to set really fun competitions. Here's like 1st to 3 meetings wins. So these are really good for those kind of quick metrics, those sales behaviors you can impact, because it's not just total, it's the first to get to that number. Here's an example of that team goal that I mentioned. So here we have a team competition, climbing the mountain towards that pipe.
Yeah. So it's kind of like everyone is like kind of like running after a shared goal, for instance. Like it could be X revenue, and then everyone is kind of participating to it, and then there's a prize in the end of the mountain, on top of the mountain.
Exactly that. So, and visualizing it, this is the main thing, making sure in the office it's visual, it's engaging. And we do also want to celebrate wins as well.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
So we've got the option of every person adding their YouTube celebration. We had a customer and they basically, one of their reps at one time, that they hid in the office whilst they put a deal through, and then they came out when that celebration came up as like a wrestler walking out to their song, or a boxer as they walk to the ring. So at the end of the day, right, salespeople, they love recognition along with making lots of money. So that's where that can help. And again, sort of breaking down into bite-sized wins. So things like this. Cam, he got 2 meetings booked in a day. We can automate that so you get these wins popping up on the screen, not just the end goal, but maybe personal.
So it's like middle milestone kind of like throughout the day. If you've been doing 2 bookings, then kind of blink for everyone that people can say, okay, Cam, you booked 2 meetings today. Cool.
Yeah, and this is where SalesScreen stands out versus other similar companies. We have a lot more flexibility around that gamification side. So here you can see like recognizing performance improvements from individuals or teams, as well as just the top performer. We see on average an increase of 61% from middle performers when we run a competition with SalesScreen. We looked at 10,000 competitions, and the only reason that works is because you use creative competitions for that. But anyway, I'm getting a bit too passionate about this. I'll stop sharing. But if anyone's interested in seeing more, we've got more today, but also we are offering like a free pilot for Adversus customers and anyone else on the call. So if you want to just learn a bit more, let me know.
Cool. But yeah, thank you so much. Like amazing. And this is like an amazing bridge over to turning KPIs into motivation as well, because that is kind of like where you come into perspective as well, because now we have chosen the KPI, we have made it visible, but visibility isn't the same as motivation. Like in Adversus, we have a lot of dashboard options, a lot of detailed reporting options as well, but visibility isn't the same as motivation. So I really think, and this is where I think managers need to be careful as well, because not every bad number should become a competition. Let's say one of our BDRs is behind target. It's tempting. It really is. And I do it myself sometimes as well. More activity, more calls, more campaign time. And sometimes that's exactly the right answer. If the campaign time is significantly below everybody else, I have an obvious place to start. It's like the foundation, as we talked about in the beginning. It's really tempting as a manager to say more activity, more campaign hours, more calls, right? And that could actually be the answer in a lot of cases as well. But again, what if I'm that salesperson that I actually have a really, really high campaign time? then us as managers, we need to go a step further, because then I cannot really use more effort, right? Because Harry, my effort is pretty high. So if the campaign time is high, then I could maybe look at the contact rate, because potentially contact rate for some reason could actually be really low on that specific employee. Even though that your average is pretty high, then you could actually have outliers in the negative direction as well. So again, back to the case, it could be a data problem, it could be a campaign problem, because if the campaign time is high, but the contact rate is low, I mean, then that person's not reaching anyone. But what if the contact rate is high and we're reaching a lot of unqualified? Then it's back to the unqualified rate that we talked about. Then effort is there. We are reaching the people. It's just not the right people we're reaching. Then it's a targeting problem. So what we then can do, if we know all of these things, like campaign time is like healthy, contact rate is healthy, we're reaching the qualified people, but positive outcomes are low. I mean, that is where I genuinely have a coaching opportunity, right? And those are probably the positions that I like as well as a leader, because let's be honest, I have a rev up teams behind my back. Like I have developers, I have such a big team behind me, but there's also a lot of things I can't influence. But if contact rate, campaign time, all of these behavioral KPIs, data things are high, and it's just the success outcome that's low, then I can actually do something as well. Then I can really do something as well, because then I can start to coach. And as I said in the very beginning of this webinar here, you need to diagnose the funnel because before you can coach as well. Something that I look at myself, and I know my team leaders is as well, and it's back to Adversus, so it will take a very short time. But it's actually like our dashboard module. I think our dashboard module within Adversus help us quite a lot to give like this overall production insights, to be fair. Can you see my screen, Harry?
It's just loading up. There we go.
Perfect. Yeah. So we're back to the front page, but within dashboards, we have like this possibilities to make a lot of good dashboard that you also can cast to flat screens or TVs, or you can also click here and then you have access, and then you can share it with the SDRs and the sales reps, so it enters the main menu. But like dashboards can be built in a lot of different combinations, and you can, like basically build whatever you want. A dashboard that our team leaders are looking at quite a lot from a day-to-day perspective could be something like this, right? Like month booking so far, so we can see how close are we to the goal so far. Month health percentage, how many of the booking has converted into a deal. Then you can see I have two silos here, like left side is like weekly, right side is today. And that is because on each individual widget, you are also capable to set up like different filters, such as time range and so on. But like today's booking, you can see this is the amount of booking we're booked today. Then they can compare with each other. You can follow the team. We're also looking at calls because it is a very good indication KPI. Campaign hours, we're looking at that as well. Processing time is essentially prep or wrap up time. We're looking at that as well. But keep in mind, this is something that you can use for getting insight into the production or share with your clients, but it doesn't create motivation. I know, Harry, some of the cool features that our BDRs adore, they're not using it yet, but they're really, really looking forward to it. It's like the battle function you have, where they actually like Mikkel and Mass here. If they want to initiative a battle by themselves, they can do that. Because now we're talking motivation. Can you maybe fill us in a little bit about that? Because I actually think that is like quite essential when it comes to like outbound.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about that. So I think, as you say, like you've got your dashboard, you've got your numbers. How do we actually get those behaviors, drive the right behaviors, right? So I think one of it is making it visible. As I say, on the TV, on your dashboard, make it relevant to that individual, not just like you should do more calls, why for them, or what is important for them. I think, as I mentioned at the start, education is so important. I think even the most important one, because if they don't understand the why behind that behavior, it's going to be so hard to stay motivated. If you're getting hung up on, and as we know in sales, it's a rejection business, right? So if you don't actually feel connected to that behavior and the outcome, it's so much harder to stay motivated. So that comes back to us as managers, but also having tools like Adversus, SalesScreen to really share and make it easy to see and understand. Again, it's down to the managers, follow up. I've learned this the hard way. You can't just say to do something and then never bring it up again. You've got to keep bringing it up again. Like tools like our tools, whatever, can help to automate kind of that recognition and bring it back up. Another thing we found worked really well for our customers is using prizes and rewards to kind of give a little bit extra for some people. Sometimes, like your top performers, they probably don't need this because they're making enough money. But those middle, low performers, maybe they would really like tickets to the football, the cinema, like something extra alongside their job. So those are my key takeaways today. And I'm going to jump in and show a couple of things, conscious of time, but I'm going to focus quickly on some ideas for everyone here on which competitions you can run and the different mechanics behind them. So for example, we have one challenge is always, if the same people always win. So how do you handle that? You can run competitions which include the element of chance. So it can be things like spin the wheel, pick a random winner.
So in this case here basically means that, like, of course, normally it's always the same people that are winning. But this actually means that everyone can kind of get a piece of the prize as well, like even the low to mediocre performers.
Exactly. So like in this case, you can see Jimmy would normally win, right? With 6 tickets, 6 opportunities created. However, people who have done less and they're in that middle still have the chance to win. So that can be a great way of engaging those people. You've already saw this on the screen, those team competitions. One of my old colleagues, like he was one of the top performers, but if you didn't put him into like a head-to-head style competition, like this one, for example, he wouldn't care, right? He wouldn't care about trying to win. As soon as you paired him with someone or put him in a team, he would do anything to win. So it's knowing your team and what motivates them. And then, we can do some nice kind of we spoke about long-term deal cycles. We can also run things like a long-term competition. Here we have like a multi-round metric style competition.
This is available for like the high ticket close, the enterprise sales, where you're in it for the long run, basically.
Yeah, and also, things like where we have, maybe it's start of the month and you need to build pipeline. So you run the first 3 days is on calls and meetings booked. And then in the next round, you focus on pipeline. And then the last round, you focus on, pipeline or pipeline progression. So just a few examples for you. If there's anything to take away, I would say try a team competition. And also try something where it's using the element of chance to engage your middle performers if you haven't done that. And yeah, I think let's move on, because I know you've got some exciting stuff to share. As I say, if anyone wants to see more around kind of the battles you mentioned, the reward system we have, we can always set up some time.
I know my team is personally looking forward to to the battle functionality where they can battle each other, because they're like super, super, super competitive. And it's cool. I must admit, turning insights into action as well, because now we've maybe identified the right KPI. We have the diagnose where the attention is needed as well. And we'll look at how to create, we have looked at a bit about how to create motivation around the right behavior as well, and potentially how we could do it. The goal for all of this today is basically better sales behavior, right? So all of these things that we are displaying, we can do through SalesScreen, etc., the gamification part, competition, should give better sales behavior. So again, if we have healthy effort, we have healthy contact rates, we're reaching all the right people, we are maybe a bit below in the competitions, we're below in the successful outcome and all of those things, then we can go in and look at the conversation. We go in and listen. We also instead of advocating random listening to recorded calls, because of course we can record every single calls in Adversus, but that also takes so much time for team leaders to do so. We have actually made a new feature. It's not fully launched yet. It's within the beta, but we have actually launched an Adversus AI coaching functionality, which actually means that this AI can go in and listen to all of the recordings. I don't want to go through the demo today because it's a pretty big topic, but that will probably be a topic for next webinar where people can participate. And I think that's a game changer for us because like with all of these nice things in SalesScreen, reporting, dashboarding, like it's so easy to go in and figure out where to look and what to do when the numbers change. The problem is if like all of these fundamental KPIs is on track, then me as a leader, I have a problem. It's a good problem because there's an opportunity, obviously. I need to go in and listen to so many recordings. I need to sit side by side or go through the live listening module. And honestly, we have so much on our desk to do as well. Like we have so much to do as well. And honestly, it's one of those tasks. Yeah, like I drive like an hour to work every single day. Yeah, I'm sometimes listening to them there, but you also know how you are. Like then you zone out and then you're not really paying attention. I like our AI coaching because it can kind of narrow it down that you need to focus on these calls here and this agent here or this group of agents has these scores in terms of objection handling, openings, all of those things. So it's honestly a game changer. And it will probably be a topic for a webinar in the very, very soon future. Are you using an AI, Harry? For like
I am, yeah. I'm excited for what you're talking about, so I'm hoping we can test that out when we launch Adversus. Yeah, no, I am just like you say. I think the main thing is like using it on value driving tasks. Right, we've all been there making automations for stuff, and then we kind of forget about it. But stuff like listening, prioritizing the right calls sounds fantastic.
Yeah, perfect. But yeah, this one here, like how motivation and recognition makes, like Harry, can you fill us up on that part?
Yeah, I think we've got some key takeaways to come, don't we? But it's really a lot of what I've said already. But I think the main one is this last one. Like, I think I'm a big believer that salespeople, if we put it very simply, we're motivated by money and progression, but also love. I was thinking about this the other night. But it's that recognition, right? We all love that pat on the back. I think probably 90% of your team, they love it. They love it when they get recognized by their manager and by the team. And I think that's probably the lowest hanging.
And that sometimes even matters more than the money itself as well.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're not have like, of course, they kind of like go along sometimes as well, but the recognition, because like salespeople do care about status, they do care about like being seen, they do care about having the trophy and then right, like I closed this one year. They do care about the bells and the whistle and all of those things. So yeah, 100%, I follow you there.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes the lowest hanging fruit, we would say. Like, it's the easiest thing you can fix. And I think some of it comes down to your culture where maybe you don't want to recognize, you only want to recognize the best, but you're forgetting about those people who maybe are new or they're working really, really hard to get better. And then if you miss it, like you don't feel like that effort is being recognized. But yeah, we've got our key takeaways.
That's also back to like, I actually just started 2 new BDRs called Francisco and Frederick. Just started like this month here, right? Like obviously,
congrats.
If we only, thank you so much. If we only was focused on the amount of bookings, like they already lost before they started. Like
100%.
They can actually look at campaign hours and see, okay, you know what? I can maybe not beat them on bookings yet, but I can definitely beat them in the effort part. And by doing that effort, they will also be exposed for the fire and getting better over time.
Yeah, I think most salespeople don't fail because they aren't good enough. It's just because they don't stay long enough.
Yeah, for sure. It's so true. So if we go through some of our key takeaways, like I think Harry, you should take the first one.
Yes. You throw me on the spot. We've got 1 minute left. I think conversion rates, I've said it 100 times already. Like, we spoke about it. Yeah, that's the main thing to look at.
And also expectations, right? Sales is a rejection business. Like, honestly.
Well, that's why I love it. You can say to them, like, look, you're going to speak to 7 people and get no's. Yeah. That's normal.
Or like, if you're getting 1 good lead out of 10, it's great. And that's the reality.
But it's hard to understand that when you're new, you don't get it. Yeah,
exactly. But that's also our responsibility to like advocating that. But I think we will be cut off in a very, very few seconds. So thank you so much for everyone that joined today. Thank you for the questions. Everyone will be getting a response afterwards and let us know. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.